we have Dr. Ravi Bhatia, who will share his views on the obsession with marks and the fact that 90s have become the new normal. Dr. Bhatia, as you know, is a pediatrician, an author, and a quiz master. So, welcome, Dr. Ravi Bhatia, and let's
Good
begin
evening,
the
ma'am.
podcast.
This idea of having this talk came to me when the CBSE result was declared about 10 days back. And as soon as the result was declared, all the newspapers were full of students,
Right,
who had scored heavily, of coaching institutes who were, flaunting their prize adverts
right.
in the form of students, and schools who were telling that our student have scored so much, so much, so much. Now, since we both happen to be doctors, and I was just reminded of this saying that marks these days are basically the temperature we wish to record in wards. You
Right,
know, so when parents come to me and they say they have fever, and I say, no, you don't have fever unless until the body temperature is 100 degree. Minimum body temperature is 98.4. So marks these days are just like, in the
yeah,
form of temperature, which is being there.
yeah.
So then it, appeared to me that are we dealing only with students, who are scoring well? What about a child who has not scored well?
Right, and
So
you must be
that is,
meeting all kind of
yeah,
children as
all
a part
kinds,
of your,
all
yeah.
kinds of children, all kinds of.
Yeah, so I think this is a very relevant topic, and it is not just this year, it's going to be more and more relevant in future, I think. So my very first question, I think CBSE is something that's prevalent all over India, apart from people who study in state boards and ICSE and other boards. But I think the most prevalent is CBSE. So do you think it's a level playing ground? What are your views?
See, CBSE is the commonest board across India. It is pan India and the oldest board. So it's a very good organization and they are students friendly. But still, I will not say it's a level playing field. Why? Because in 10th you have got 5 subjects. Okay, remember those 5? We had English, Hindi, mathematics, science, and social studies. Right?
Mm. Yeah.
English core we used to call. Now in maths, English also there are 2 options: English
Mm.
literature and simple. Hindi
Mm.
also there are 2 options: Hindi A and Hindi B. And
Mm.
maths also there are
Math
two
also.
options:
Right, right,
standard mathematics and basic mathematics.
right.
Okay. In addition to this, many schools are not offering Hindi. They are
Mm.
offering Sanskrit as a language, or they are
Yeah.
even offering French as a language.
Mm.
And you have an additional subject, 6th subject, which in
Mm.
all probability many students take up as IT, or
IT.
it might be physical education. So what is happening is CBSE is very smart. CBSE is not giving you percentage. CBSE is not giving you ranks because they don't want to pressurize the student, and we need to appreciate CBSE for it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what the parents are doing, or the schools are doing, or the teachers are doing, they are taking 6 subjects. They are
Mm.
taking 5 out of those 6, 5 best out of those 6, and you find a student's percentage is 98%,
Mm.
comparison to other child who has scored 95%, but he has scored 95% in core subjects.
Mm. Right.
So it cannot be a level playing field. Second
Mm.
thing is, though hats off to CBSE that they have managed to put in a system which has a very objective system of marking. For example, in mathematics, if you have written the steps correctly and even if your answer is wrong, they will give you marks. Agreed. But there will always be a little bit of subjective bias for the very
Mm.
simple reason that the exam is being held on such a large basis. Throughout pan India, you have got different regions. So you will have certain region students is going to score more, and you will also come across many parents telling कि इनके पूरी की पूरी class में ही science में कम आए, as if
Mm.
that lot has gone to a teacher who was strict. I'll give you an example myself. I'm a professor of pediatrics. I go for taking MBBS exam, taking MD exams, and when I start checking copy, when I check a copy and the same copy is checked by one of my colleagues, he will give, let's say for example the section is 40 marks, he'll give 26, 25. I'll end up at giving 18 or
Mm.
19 or
Mm.
20, because every expectation of every teacher from a student is different.
Yeah.
So
It's so
having said that,
subjective. Yeah. You're saying it's
subjective.
subjective, and that's the point.
Yeah, having said that, still CBSE is considered to be the most perfect system of examination.
Okay.
Hats off to them for
Yeah.
examining. See, managing 23 lakhs 71,939 students appeared in 10th exam.
Mm.
So, I mean, it's a huge number.
Yeah.
It's a huge number. So
Yeah. Yeah.
hats off to CBSE for that. But we must also understand that it can never be a level playing field. For that matter, life itself is not a level playing
Yeah.
field.
Yeah. And the quest for perfection, I think it's always ongoing. You can never be
It's
100%
ongoing.
perfect.
It can never be 100%.
Yeah. So my second question, I think you have already answered. It was, based on the effect of optional subjects. Of course, we have already discussed it,
Oh,
and I think.
see, if if I knew this and my daughter's school would have said this, I would have gone for an optional subject like Sanskrit or French or an IT, which would have been much easier to score.
Hmm.
Frankly speaking,
Hmm.
with no offense to French, IT, or Sanskrit, but of course, there's in standard 12, people have opted for painting in humanities,
Okay.
Kathak in humanities.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there are also subjects, all subjects are equal, but then there are some subjects which are likely to score more and
Yeah.
some subjects which are likely to score less.
Yeah. But if it is an interest, for example, if Kathak or IT is an interest of that student,
Then
then they
student
can.
must opt for it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
They must opt for. Okay.
Yeah.
While all this is happening, everyone is obsessed with the marks, and I want to know, like you said, what happens to those who do not score 90 plus? So, what is the guarantee of a better future with 90 plus or really great scores in 10th? And alternatively, second part of the question is does a lower score mean a poor career outcome? That's also an important thing I think we should discuss.
It's like this. 1.92% students have scored above 95% in 10th. Okay. So hats off to them. They've done the hard work, they've got the result. Now, there may be some students who must have scored 80%, 70%. One must understand is your 10th mark sheet is only basically a document to document your date of birth. That
Yeah,
chapter ends there.
yeah. In
Is that
hindsight,
chapter ends
one
there
thinks, yeah.
in hindsight. Now, who will become more successful in career is depends on what other qualities a person has. You might score 99% in standard 10th, but
Hmm.
you might not have that 1% emotional stability or a high emotional quotient to deal with the googlies life has to throw to you. Then you might end up not being that successful in comparison to a person who scored 70%
Yeah,
but is emotionally stable. He's
yeah,
got a high emotional quotient and who has got a better decision making ability.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that we have to understand who will be more successful will only future will tell. Your marks are not an indication. However, I'm putting a rider here. I'm
Okay.
putting a rider here. Any student who has scored well, one must appreciate the fact that he has put in the hard
Yeah,
work.
hard.
And this hard work, if he's able to maintain, because life is not a 100-meter dash,
Yeah.
life is a marathon. If he's able to maintain that hard work and if he's able to continue with sincerity, hard work, he has to be successful in life.
That's a very valid point, and something related to that I wanted to check. What happens after 10th? That's the time when people start choosing the subjects which will
Choosing
then shape their career.
this is a dilemma. This is
Yeah,
a dilemma. You know what happens is many times the kids are guided by their own parents.
yeah,
Okay, and parents ambitions, माँ बाप डॉक्टर नहीं बन सके इसलिए बच्चे को डॉक्टर बनाना है.
yeah,
मैं
yeah,
इंजीनियर नहीं बन सका लेकिन बेटे को तो मैं इंजीनियर बना के रहूंगा.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
First thing you must understand is कि 95% marks in mathematics or 100% marks in science does not mean you are that good. Does
Hmm.
not mean you are excellent. Because there's a huge difference between what is going to come in 10th and what is going to come in 11th. It's a jump. It's a
Hmm.
huge jump.
Hmm.
So unless and until the child is interested in that subject, I don't think we should goad the child into
Yeah,
picking up
yeah,
that line.
yeah. This is
And
something,
this is a miss.
yeah, yeah. This is something where every parent is, confused, and this coming from you, I think it's a huge thing because people are likely to rethink their, ideas on what they want their kids to do. So
See,
is
I
science
will
an
give my
only option? After 10th, is science an only option? Maybe not. I mean, it depends
no,
on your
no, not at
interest.
all. I'll give you my own example. When I was studying, I wanted to be IIT. I wanted to go to IIT. I wanted to be an engineer. My father is an engineer. My mother happens to be a doctor. Now I was, having sugarcane juice. At that time, life was very simple. When we were growing up, गन्ने के glass का एक रस पी रहे. I was having a glass of ganne ka jas with my friends. And two ladies, walked up to me and asked me, my mother's name is Dr. Kushlani. So when is Dr. Kushlani going to come back?
Okay.
So I thought, I am a hero. People recognize me because of my mother. And then it changed. And I thought, who will recognize an engineer? A doctor has got more public dealing. So I should go and become a doctor. So I switched over. Now that CBSE has an option of providing both maths and biology if you want to take a science stream, right? After having chosen the option, I failed in 11th standard chemistry paper.
Okay.
I got 9 marks out of 30. I have no shame in admitting it. Slowly and slowly, I started building up again. Now, when it came to entrance exam, at that time there was no NEET.
Yeah,
I think you must be familiar. You
yeah.
yourself are a doctor.
Yeah,
It was either a state PMT or a central PMT, right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes, yes.
So I had this entrance examination of the Armed Forces Medical College Pune, AFMC. I still remember that ad came in Hindustan Times. I got hold of the ad, and that ad had physics 50 marks, chemistry 50 marks, biology 50 marks, and 50 marks was English and general knowledge.
Okay.
I said, deal done. I scored a perfect 15 English and general knowledge and cracked AFMC and went there. So what did I do? I played to my strengths.
Yes.
I knew very well it will be very difficult for me to clear the usual PMT. Though I cleared. I am not saying I'm not cleared. I cleared. But the thing is, I played to my strength. And my parents also encouraged me to play to my strength. So that is what we have to understand. Getting a good percentage in 10 does not mean that you will become a scientist or you will get admission into IIT. That is for sure.
Yeah, playing to the strengths. I think the most important phrase you have used is playing to the strengths. I mean, every student has their own strengths, and they should utilize that, to decide on their career. It's very difficult, though. I mean, practically in
It's very
India,
difficult.
it's very difficult to decide.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
There's related to the marks, we have seen this time that students have scored 100% in languages. I mean, in our days, it was never possible. It was not possible at all. I mean, scoring in languages was unheard of. What are your views?
Yeah. See, first thing, I'm very happy. I'll be very happy. I'm very happy that earlier, this time what has happened is students have scored more in science. There's been percentage increase. Acha, regarding that 100% marks, let's talk about the 100. That is called centum, right?
Yeah.
There are only, I think, 6,000 students in class 10th who have scored 100 in science, 5,000 students in mathematics. And interestingly, there are students who have scored 100 in Hindi, 100 in English, 100 in Marathi, 100 in social studies also.
Yeah.
Now, scoring 100% marks in English is, I have unheard of.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's because the paper has become like that. The paper of marking, the system of marking, the paper, the objective part, short answer part, and if the student has written what is there in the NCERT textbook, I think he's going to get marks. See, wherever you lose marks in languages, where you write your own language. When you write what the book is given, you will get marks. You will get
But
marks.
do you think it's counterproductive? I mean,
I'm coming to it. Now you yourself are a celebrated author. You've written such a beautiful book, right? In plain and simple words. Mandeep meets Mandeep. It's one of my, I agreed. I am a big fan of it. I must have read that book at least 4 or 5 times.
Really?
And I must have gifted it. Yeah. Because now just tell me one thing. Is it more difficult to write simple English or is it more difficult to write flowery English? It is more difficult to write simple English, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So actually, what is our education system somewhere down the line has to understand this, that they have to encourage the students' way of thinking, the students' way of writing. But at such a mass level, it might not be possible. Another good thing is social studies. Regarding social studies, this year they say of all the toughest paper, social studies paper was the toughest. And in that also 2,000 students across India have scored a perfect 100. Scoring 100 in social studies is even more difficult because what we have been taught, what is there in our mindset? Maths means you are intelligent. Bio means rattu tota, cramming up.
Yes.
And we used to taught history, geography, raat mein rati, sube safa.
Hmm.
Because actually, what people don't understand in history, geography are as interesting as science and mathematics.
Yes, yes,
This we
yes,
have to understand.
yes,
Language is as interesting as mathematics.
yes, yeah,
It's not that easy. So the good thing is that people are students are getting 100 in social studies also. So that's, I think, is a refreshing change. And for a nation, for a nation to grow, people must be interested and good in their language. Then only a nation will grow.
yes. Language, even social studies, because when you see your
Yeah.
books, for example, all of them cover all parts of
History, geography, everything
information,
is
general
covered.
knowledge, social
Information.
studies, everything is
And
there.
NCRT books are very good. NCRT books, are they very good. I mean, even if somebody wants to prepare for civil service, you must read the NCRT books. They're very good.
Yeah, good point there. So, suppose somebody has not done really well, and what is your advice to them and to their parents? Okay, this is
See,
okay, this is over.
first thing is, yeah, of course, you have to tell them it's over. Life is a marathon. You have to start a new chapter. But at the same point of time, you have to caution the parents also. Because many times you know your child is not good in mathematics. Still, you want to make him appear for IIT entrance. That's not fair. That's
Yeah.
being a burden on the child. I mean, that's creating unnecessary pressure. Because what people forget is the difference is mostly physics or mathematics in engineering entrance. So if you're not good in maths, and you're then normally you will not be good in physics also. See, chemistry is something different because chemistry still has a little bit of element of cramming up, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Rectification of
Hmm.
equations. But physics and mathematics is pure logic. And it's, many people say that, my own story, I never liked physics. So I knew now that if you don't like physics, the chances of getting into engineering are much less. But
No, no,
this
even if
thing
you
will
get
work.
in, you may not enjoy it.
You
That's
get a good, and this might work in a NEET exam, because NEET is what? It's a multiple choice question based exam. So MCQ exams are basically recall exams. Recall, because you have to
yeah.
solve that multiple choice question. See what happened this year in NEET. This year NEET the paper became tough because
Yeah.
the questions were tough, and this happened because last year many people had a perfect score. So you don't know. Basically, what happens is the parents also have to realize that the child is not a mirror copy of the parents.
Yeah.
You may have given birth to the child. That does not mean that he or she should be following the same steps at which
Right.
what which you
Absolutely.
have taken.
So, how do kids, how should they deal with the stress and everything of first the
See,
exams and
it's
then the
exam
result?
stress will always going to be there, and I'm of this belief certain amount of stress should be there in life. If we don't have stress, we will not even get up. We
But we
have a
see more
stress, we
and
have a debt.
more and more youngsters, getting overtly stressed, and this is also
They
happening.
is the reason is because of peer pressure. The reason is clear cut peer pressure. उसके 10th में इतने परसेंट मार्क्स आए, तेरे कितने आएंगे? First thing you have to understand is your child is your child. ठीक है? We have to cocoon them from that peer pressure. And second thing is what I believe is, I think this is we have taken it too far now. You must be also seeing all the newspapers. अब result आए हुए कितने दिन हो गए? अब this chapter should be over now.
Yeah, it should be over.
90% के होनार, हमारे होनार, above 90%, above 95%. I mean, this has to stop somewhere. I think
Yes.
this has to stop somewhere. First
Yeah.
thing. And second thing is, you have to make the child realize that every child has got its unique strengths and weakness. So the child should play to his strengths. This is what I believe. If for example, uh, your child is very good at language, he is a good orator, or he is a good writer, then if he wants to take humanities, just go ask him to go ahead. See, I'll tell you one thing. You know why people are opting for JE, for IIT, is not because they are interested in science. They are opting for because उनको लगता है आईआईटी में हो गया तो हमारे पे पैकेज मिल गया, हमारी जिंदगी बन गई.
Yes, yes. So
जिंदगी
that's, I
नहीं
think
बनती है.
it all boils down to a career prospect, at the end of the
That
day.
the reason is majority of Indians are middle class. So हमारे लिए क्या है? हमारी क्या होता है? रोटी कपड़ा मकान, वहीं तक हमारी जिंदगी सीमित है. Remember one thing, 1 month back or a couple of months back, Purila Gopichand, the ace badminton
Yeah,
coach,
yeah, he
he
told that.
said that if you are not rich,
Yeah,
don't think of sport as an option.
don't get into sports.
That was a very correct statement. I
Right.
mean, to buy a shuttlecock, buy a racket, and hats off to those parents who are encouraging kids to take up sports.
Yes.
What
Yeah,
I
it
think.
needs a lot of investment in terms of, going to games, international events,
Games,
having a
international
coach,
games, events. Many times you will
nutrition.
not end up with
Yeah.
medals.
Yeah, and then
And
you also don't have a backup plan. If you are seriously
backup plan is not
interested,
there.
you cannot, do any other work. So,
So that is why I'm telling you. That is why I've been telling that you should always have a hobby to fall back upon. You should always have a hobby to fall back
many times the hobby becomes the main career. I mean, I've seen people,
upon. Hobby becomes the main career.
yeah,
Yes, becomes the main career. So,
yeah.
for example, if somebody is writing well, yeah, encourage him.
Hmm.
Encourage him.
Yeah.
Let him write. Who
Hmm.
knows? The bestseller might be round the corner.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think parents, you have told us what parents can do, but what do you think teachers and schools should do,
See,
to
for teachers and schools, they have to, change little bit of their mindset, because majority schools are of this, and giving us so many students have scored above 90%, so many students have scored 90. They should say 100% of our students have passed
yes.
and completed their that is
Yeah,
more important.
yeah.
That is more important rather than saying 95% above 95%, 10 8 students are above 95%, 50 students are above 90%. Just say 100% students have passed. I think this is my
Yeah,
opinion. But
yeah. At
actually,
the yeah.
what happens is there has to be some sort of stratification somewhere. Earlier, the CBSE was bringing out CGPA and GPA point average, and that was a better system. But now
Hmm.
also CBSE, if you see the mark sheet, they have not given the percentage anywhere.
Hmm.
They have just said pass, and the marks are there. But we all know how to calculate percentage, so we have calculated.
Yeah, so it needs a lot of mindset change in the whole education system, is what you are saying,
And this is happening. The education system is happening. The policy is good. CBSE is doing a wonderful job, and they've done a really wonderful job. See, it's like this also. We have to understand like that also. On one hand, we saying marks are not important. That's very important. Agreed. But what about the child who has worked hard the year round and he scores good? He
Hmm.
has to be applauded. At the
Yeah.
same point of time, in our applause for the child who has done well, we should understand, we should have some sort of empathy for the child who might not have done well.
Yeah,
That
they have
balance
a
has to be
different path. I mean, everybody's path is
different
different.
paths.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have, and then second thing is we should stop comparing.
Hmm.
This is what I believe.
Yeah, so these are like large changes which, as a society, we need to inculcate, and it's not
And we
going to
need to we
happen
need to
overnight.
we need
Yeah.
to appreciate we need to appreciate our young generation for
Mm,
whatever good they are doing. If they
mm,
are doing, if they're excelling in a hobby, we need to appreciate that. And we just, because as a society we want people who are well-rounded individuals who can
yeah.
take on. The problem with this is, if you have students who are scoring above, who are scoring loads and loads of marks,
Mm,
I sincerely hope to God, I sincerely pray to God that this does not get into their head, because life is going to take an exam every day, and you
yes,
might not get 95% every day.
yes, yes. Very
There
well
will be a
said.
days
Very well
will
said,
there will
Doctor.
be days there will be days where you will have an off day, and at the end of the day you find from morning to evening everything has gone wrong.
Yeah,
Everything has gone wrong.
yeah, yeah.
So that the pressure to deal with that off days, I think, is
Yeah, yeah. So marks are not everything.
not everything.
One has
And one more
life
thing,
is a marathon. I think very
marathon.
few, very important points that you have brought up. About how to deal with all this, especially for
One
the.
more thing, one more thing people have to understand is that any exam for that matter, you can prepare for the exam, you can score up to 90, 95%, you can score. Agreed. Scoring above that, or scoring a perfect center, you require a little element of luck. That is there.
Okay. Yes.
I have. You may score 100 out of 100 in mathematics every time, but on that very day, you
Hmm.
made a small mistake in a step and you lose 1 mark or
Yeah,
lose two
yeah,
marks.
yeah.
That is quite possible. That is
Yes.
quite possible. So,
Yeah.
at the same point of time, you should encourage the student to do hard work. If you do hard work, you are sincere, you are bound to get good marks.
Hmm.
But for standing first in an exam, or topping the exam, or scoring 100% in all 5 subjects, so मान लो 100% in 2 or 3 subjects, that element of luck you require. And that element of luck
Yeah.
is, you might be having your lucky day, you
Yeah.
might be unlucky.
So I think that brings us to the end of the session, but very important takeaways. I mean, life is a marathon. It's not necessary that one scores and that guarantees a great career ahead. There are very important points that you have brought up, especially on the exam system and how parents and teachers can help. and what students need to do. I think it was a wonderful session, and we do look forward to another session with you on your topic of
Oh,
interest.
okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
a
Thank
pleasure
you so
talking to
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you.